I never believed in curses or spirits. I thought they were just stories told to scare kids, nothing more. But after my visit to my grandmother's village last year, I don't know what to believe anymore. The village is small, hidden deep in the hills, far from the city. It's always been quiet, but when I arrived, it felt too quiet. No birds, no animals, no sounds at all. Just a strange, heavy silence. I thought it was just the heat, maybe everyone staying indoors. That first night, my grandma told me, whatever you do, don't go outside after dark. She didn't explain why, and when I asked, she just looked at me with serious eyes and changed the subject. I should have listened to her. Later that night, when the sun went down, the village fell into complete silence. No voices, no footsteps, not even the wind. I was lying in bed, trying to sleep, when I heard it, slow, dragging footsteps outside my window. I froze. The sound was heavy, deliberate, like someone walking with great difficulty. The footsteps passed right by my window, but I didn't dare look. I lay there, heart pounding, waiting for the sound to go away. The next morning, I asked my grandma what it was. She didn't answer, just stared at me with the same serious eyes. "Don't ask again," she said. But I couldn't leave it alone. The following night, the footsteps came again. This time, I couldn't resist. I got up, heart racing, and peeked through the curtain. There, in the dim moonlight, was a figure. A man, or something that looked like a man. His skin was pale, his clothes old and torn, and his movements were slow, mechanical. His eyes were wide open, but they looked empty, like he wasn't really seeing anything. He dragged his feet through the dirt as if he was lost, wandering. His mouth was slightly open, but no sound came out. I stepped back from the window, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't sleep after that. The next morning, I decided I needed to leave. I couldn't stay another night. But before I left, I confronted my grandma one last time. "I saw him," I told her. "The man outside." "Who is he?" She sighed and finally told me the story. Many years ago, during a time of famine, a stranger came to the village, begging for food and shelter. The villagers, desperate themselves, turned him away. The man died in the forest alone, but before he did, he cursed the village. Now, every night, he walks through the village, looking for the help he never received. "But what can we do?" I asked, my voice trembling. My grandma hesitated, then said, "There is one way. When the footsteps come, open your door. Offer him shelter, and you will find peace." I didn't want to believe her. But I couldn't forget what I had seen. That night, I stayed up late. When the footsteps came, I was terrified, but I remembered my grandma's words. My hands shook as I unlocked the door and opened it just a crack. The footsteps stopped. I looked outside, and there he was, standing in front of my door, staring at me with those empty eyes. Swallowing my fear, I whispered, "Come in." The man stood there for what felt like forever. Then, slowly, he nodded, turned, and walked away into the night. The next morning, the village felt different. Lighter. People were outside, talking, laughing, a sound I hadn't heard since I arrived. The air didn't feel heavy anymore. I asked my grandma if it was over. She smiled, the first real smile I'd seen since I came. "Yes," she said. "You did the right thing. He won't come back now." I haven't been back to the village since, but I know one thing, the footsteps are gone. The village of silence isn't silent anymore.